After drinking a cup of spiked cold wine, I was caught in bed with the crown prince at the palace banquet. The second prince, Xiao Jingshuo, cut his wrist and wrote a letter in blood. As a man, having been humiliated by my fiancé and older brother conspiring together, rather than living on in resentment, it is better to find release in death. He was saved, but the crown prince and I were reviled by the masses. Everyone calls me a slut who can't stand being alone. I knelt down and pleaded, begging them to find out the truth and clear my name. But I was still sent to a nunnery to become a nun. Until I was raped and nearly killed by bandits. Xiao Jingshuo brought Shi Yunru to collect my body. My silly legitimate sister was still begging you to clear her name. She didn't know until she died that it was you who served her the wine, who asked her to be the legitimate daughter, and you the concubine, born one. The imperial family wants to form a marriage alliance with the Marquis of Chengen's Manor. If the legitimate daughter doesn't die, how can a concubine, born daughter like you marry me? Xiao Jingshuo closed my unwilling eyes and sighed. Ji Yunshu, blame it on your bad luck. My luck was bad. After I died, I watched as the crown prince was framed for being immoral and heartless, persecuted and placed in confinement. Xiao Jingshuo successfully took the throne. The concubine, born Xie Yunru, turned her fortune around to become empress, becoming the envy of everyone in the capital. As for me, this adulterous woman who lost her virginity, I was removed from the family genealogy, and no such person could be found. Me mother was also tormented because I was cast aside, and she died in a mass grave. Opening my eyes again, the sunlight was just breaking through. Birds were singing, and flowers were fragrant. I returned to the day I was caught in the act at the palace banquet. Quick, go take a look. Someone's been caught in bed up ahead. A scream shattered the quiet inner palace. I followed in the crowd, listening to the whispers around me that could not be suppressed. Heard, it is Shi Yunshu. The adulterer is our crown prince. Is it true? Isn't Miss Xia about to marry the second prince? How can the second prince compare to the crown prince? I heard before that Shi Yunshu was dignified and quiet. Who would have thought that in private she is actually such a shameless SL? I heard the crown prince's back is covered in red scratch marks. Absolutely no shame. The crowd moved faster and faster. No one wanted to miss the erotic scene. I followed the crowd, seeing the door flung wide open. A cloying, strange fragrance hit my face, and two figures were entangled together. The second prince's birth mother, consort Anne, looked livid as she pointed angrily at the man and woman embracing inside the room. Ji Yunshu, in what way has my son wronged you? How dare you carry on an illicit affair with the crown prince? My son may not be as prestigious as the crown prince, but Schwoer is still of royal blood. We won't allow you to humiliate us like this. As she said this, she couldn't help her eyes turning red. The crowd watching the spectacle immediately flared up in anger. The second prince sure is pitiful. His fiancée is carrying on an illicit affair with his own brother. How lewd and shameless. The crown prince is the future ruler, second only to the emperor. Shi Yunshu is a loose and slutty woman, and the two of them hit it off instantly. What can the second prince do? As soon as the words fell, the second prince's eyes turned red, and he clenched his fists tight. Yunshu, say something. I love you so deeply. As long as you can sincerely admit your mistake, I am willing to accept you. I can still go through with the wedding, and we can live a good life together. Consort Anne was heartbroken and roared with hatred. No, today I must report this to the emperor. Such a harlot cannot be kept. The people present shook their heads and sighed, their gazes scornful like knives. She had a perfectly good position as the second prince's consort but refused it. Shi Yunshu just had to fool around with the crown prince. Now look, she has lost everything and won't get either of them. Look at her. She is so scared she can't even speak. With her affair exposed and consortant's attitude like this, she probably won't be able to get married. Truly a good man paired with a vile woman. It is a pity for a deeply affectionate man like the second prince. Having been reborn, hearing these abusive discussions once again, I only felt cold all over, my blood rushing backwards. Xiao Jingshuo is putting on quite the show of deep affection. In the last life, he promised me the same thing, that as long as I admitted my mistake, he would still be willing to accept me. And I, just like these onlookers, believed in his deep affection. But at that time, I had been drugged and was weak all over. I couldn't open my mouth to speak at all, which also gave him the chance to continue framing me. The people around cursed more and more vigorously. Xiao Jingshuo's face was pale, his voice filled with grief and indignation. You refuse to speak. You actually refuse to repent until the very end. He drew his sword and cut his wrist, then wrote a letter in blood with tears in his eyes. As a man to be jointly humiliated by his fiancé and older brother, rather than living on in resentment, it is better to find release in death. The crowd screamed in horror in the nick of time. A figure in black paced out. It is so lively here. All sounds came to an abrupt halt, and everyone present froze on the spot. Crown Prince Xiao Jingyan looked calm, his voice cold. Who have I been fooling around with? How come the Crown Prince is here? Everyone looked stunned. Then who is the one making the second prince wear a green hat? Green hat? Who wants to wear a green hat? I pushed through the crowd looking at Consort, and with a face full of shock, the second prince likes being a cuckold. The audacity! Who did you say likes being a cuckold? Consort and flew into a rage, glaring viciously at me. Isn't that right? I am the second prince's fiancé, standing right here safe and sound. Yet you insist that the one fooling around is me. If you don't like being cuckolded, why are you in such a rush to admit it? I looked at Xiao Jingshuo, whose face had turned deathly pale, with a look of grievance. Second prince, why didn't you go inside and take a clear look before insisting that the person inside was me? How could you be here? Xiao Jingshuo looked panicked, full of disbelief. You were clearly supposed to be in the room. He probably wanted to say that I drank the wine he sent over, that I'd been drugged by him, and was clearly supposed to be inside hooking up with someone. In my last life, he actually succeeded. He put me, who was under the influence of an aphrodisiac, together with the crown prince, then deliberately lured people over to see our shameful act. It not only dragged the crown prince through the mud, winning the emperor's pity and favoritism, but also completely ruined me, facilitating his affair with Sheyunru. I ate something bad and stayed in the latrine the whole time. Luckily, I made it here in time. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to wash myself clean even if I jumped into the Yellow River. I pretended to wipe away tears, sneering inwardly. The male and female leads who were having an illicit affair in the script are both standing right here. I want to see how he puts on his grand act of writing a petition in blood and feigning retreat. I, Shi Yunshu, have always been upright. Why do you insist it is me, without even looking? The Crown Prince and I are complete strangers, so why do you insist that the two of us are having an affair? Unless you can foresee the future and calculated that the people in the room must be us. Or is it that you arranged all of this just to ruin us? At these words, the sword in Xiao Jingshuo's hand fell to the ground with a clang. The entire hall went into an uproar. The onlookers looked at one another, their expressions filled with shock and suspicion. How is that possible? You are my fiancé. I cherish you too much. How could I harm you? He looked flustered, cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. The Crown Prince is both the heir and my older brother. I respect and look up to him, so how could I possibly harm my brother? Impossible. Respect and worship? He is practically gone mad wanting to harm the Crown Prince. They're all princes. Who wouldn't want that throne that is just a step away? He orchestrated this big show, which could both bring down the Crown Prince. You can get rid of me and smoothly marry Sheyunru. Kill two birds with one stone. What is with your attitude, so aggressive? Is this how the Shi family taught you to speak to your future husband? consort and frowned deeply and reprimanded me in a stern voice. The second prince is your future husband, and I am your future mother-in-law. You didn't pay your respects upon meeting yet. You are shouting and yelling here. You have no manners at all. Several ladies from the second prince's faction started criticizing me. That is right. The second prince was so affectionate just now. Even if you were fooling around with someone else, he was willing to accept you. You really are ungrateful. But for all his affection, he insisted, I was fooling around with someone. If I hadn't come back early, I am afraid I wouldn't be able to clear my name even if I jumped into the Yellow River. Looking like I was on the verge of tears, I pulled out my golden hairpin and pointed it at my neck. A woman's reputation is more important than her life. Being wrongly accused and humiliated like this, I might as well just die. It is just putting on a show and threatening suicide, isn't it? I've already died for real once. Who doesn't know how to act? Miss She, don't do anything foolish. The ladies hurriedly snatched my gold hairpin. This matter involves the crown prince and the second prince. It will definitely be thoroughly investigated to give you justice. It certainly should be thoroughly investigated. Drag the people out of the room. The crown prince's face was grim as he gave a cold laugh. I also want to see what kind of people dare to have illicit affairs with their lovers in the palace. No sooner had the words fallen than several guards dragged the disheveled, illicit couple out of the room. Your Highness, save me. The woman shrieked and actually threw herself onto Xiao Jingshuo. Xiao Jingshuo's whole body jolted as he brushed aside her messy hair. Yunru, why is it you? He turned to look at the trembling adulterer, boiling with rage. You dare take advantage of Yunru? My face was deathly pale, staggering and swaying. Ji Yunru, you weren't invited. Why have you appeared in the palace? Your Highness, why did Yunru throw herself into your arms and have you save her? Don't tell me you two are having an affair? The whole room fell silent. The blood drained completely from Xiao Jingshuo's face. She is your sister. I care for her because of you. So, I brought her into the palace to attend the banquet. This is really strange. You didn't go to pick up your fiancée when she entered the palace, but picked up your fiancée's sister instead. Also, when she got into trouble, how come she instinctively threw herself into your arms? The censor's wife, who was watching the spectacle, covered her mouth and chuckled. It really is hard to figure out. Yeah, the second prince was so anxious his face turned pale. His fiancée's sister was caught in bed. Yet the second prince opened his mouth to angrily rebuke others for bullying her. Just now, when your fiancée was misunderstood to be having an affair, you actually called her dirty. This double standard is way too obvious. The women of the back residence were used to seeing shady secrets. So what is there left not to understand now, seeing at a glance that there was something fishy between Xiao Jingshuo and Shi Yunru? Shi Yunru screamed shrilly. I didn't have an affair. Someone set me up. She crawled to Xiao Jingshuo's feet, crying like a pear blossom bathed in rain. You have to believe me, I am innocent. Someone must have set me up. It was my sister. My sister set me up. I clutched my chest and staggered a few steps, shaking my head with a bitter smile. I was just falsely accused of having an affair myself. Where would I have the means to set you up? Xi Yunru, you weren't invited today yet. You show up in the palace looking like this, acting all familiar with my fiancée. I am still waiting for your explanation. Shameless scoundrel, always stealing other people's things. After snatching them, she even acts like the victim, truly scheming. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Xianru's face turned deathly pale. She couldn't explain why she was so familiar with Xiao Jingshuo. So she hurriedly tried to divert attention, crying and pointing at the silent adulterer standing to the side. It was him. He raped me. Ladies, you must stand up for me. She wailed bitterly, tears streaming down her face, and those who had been mocking her couldn't help but look upon her with pity. But that silent adulterer suddenly started trembling and cursing angrily. Second miss, I followed your orders to bring you into the palace for a secret rendezvous with the second prince. I was supposed to leave at the palace gates, but you insisted you sprained your ankle. I was kind enough to help you into the room, but you went crazy and pinned me onto the bed. He prostrated himself on the ground, wailing and wiping away tears. You were so skillful, you are clearly no longer a virgin, but my innocent body was taken by you. I beg your highness to do me justice. Everyone froze on the spot, sneaking into the palace for a secret tryst with the second prince. Exi Yunru forced herself on a male servant. She has long lost her virginity. You are spouting lies. The second prince and I never meet privately in the palace. We always do it outside. Yunru blurted out. I am here today to watch the drama between Xianshu and the crown prince. As soon as these words came out, it was like a bolt from the blue. They really do have a secret affair, Summoning exclaimed. I felt something was off just now. The two of them actually knew everything beforehand. Isn't that easy to guess? They probably arranged this, so of course they knew beforehand and stuck to their story. Yunru shivered, a guilty look flashing across her face. Lord Xia puts on quite a show. The censor's wife sneered, rejecting the legitimate daughter for the illegitimate one, and to be with the illegitimate one, framing his fiancé's innocence. It is simply unheard of. This matter even implicates His Highness, the Crown Prince. This is a major event that shakes the foundation of the nation. I must go home and tell my husband. My face went pale, looking in disbelief. Second Prince, do you really have a secret affair with Yunru? And you deliberately arranged this to frame me and the Crown Prince? What a pair of despicable people, wanting to frame me and catch me in the act. In my past life, I fell for your schemes and died so miserably. This time, I am going to make you taste the agony of wishing you were dead. I took a step back, raised my pale and fragile face, and gave a self-mocking, bitter smile. The second prince has harmed me like this. I ask all you ladies to bear witness that I am unworthy of this marriage. Xiao Jingshuo instantly panicked. This was a charge he wouldn't dare admit to even if beaten to death. He stepped forward and grabbed my hand. Yunshu, it was my fault for wrongly accusing you of an illicit affair just now. But you have to believe me, I absolutely did not frame you and the Crown Prince. I'll explain Yunru's situation to you. She is pitiful, too. I was just confused for a moment and made a mistake. But you wouldn't go so far as to say I harmed you. The wedding can't be called off. I know I was wrong. We still have to get married. Wouldn't go so far. In the last life, he and Shi Yunru killed me. They trampled on my flesh and blood to rule the world. This time, seeing that he failed to harm me, he wants to gloss over it and pretend everything is fine. If I believed him, wouldn't I be a fool? My son is a prince. What is the big deal if a prince sleeps with a woman? Since you are innocent, stop making a fuss. Consortant's face darkened, and she scolded angrily. What do you mean you dare not climb high? This is a marriage bestowed by the imperial family. How could an unmarried girl like you be the one to decide? My daughter has no say, but I, her mother, do. Even if I have to risk my life, I will beg before the emperor to cancel the marriage. Mother stood firmly in front of me like a she, wolf protecting her cub, seeing the fine beads of sweat on her forehead from rushing over. My heart ached, and I finally burst into tears. Mother. In my past life and this one, the only person who loves me most is Mother. In my previous life, I was framed for adultery by Shi Yunru and Xiao Jingshuo. My reputation completely ruined, and Mother was implicated because of me, becoming bedridden. After the news came that I had been raped and killed by bandits, she was even cast aside and tortured, finally dying miserably in a mass grave. Now seeing my healthy and young mother standing before me again, I couldn't help hugging her and wailing. Mother, someone is trying to harm me. They want to drive me to my death. After returning via rebirth, The first thing I did was contact the crown prince and mother rushed over to protect me. Marriage has always been by parents' orders. I am Yunshu's mother. I will personally go kowtow and beg the emperor. Mother burned with rage, tearfully paying respects to Consortin. Consortin, I know you are deeply favored by the emperor, but we are both mothers, and we all share that love for our children. This marriage must be cancelled today. I'll go kneel. I'll go beg. I'll go strike the Denguin drum, and if that doesn't work, I'll dash my brains out at the Dali temple. Even if I die, I will get justice for my daughter. Which of the ladies present didn't have children of their own? Seeing my mother weeping blood and bleeding, I held her, crying my heart out, immediately feeling heart, wrenched and shedding tears, with a look of unbearable pity. Madam Xia, don't worry. I'll go to the palace right now and plead the case to the Empress Dowager. I absolutely won't let your daughter suffer this injustice for nothing. Yes, the Emperor has always been just. He has princesses of his own, so he will surely be able to uphold justice for you. Come now, stop crying. Your father is a veteran of 3 reigns, loyal and devoted. The Emperor sees it all. Seeing the criticism growing louder and louder, Xiao Jingshuo and Consortin's expressions turned ugly. What is this commotion? A roar came from behind. I froze all over and saw father walking over with a dark face. What are you making a scene for? Aren't you ashamed? His expression was grim as he laid down the law. Yunru is young, and the second prince is of noble imperial blood. It is understandable that love has blossomed. Since the second prince cares for her and doesn't disdain her, it is a good thing. The 2 of you will marry over there together. Sisters sharing a husband is good for everyone. Anyway, nothing happened to you today, so why keep making a scene? I jerked my head up, looking at father in disbelief. Good for everyone. Anyway, nothing happened to me. My innocence was nearly destroyed. She Yunru and Xiao Jingshuo harmed me like this. And he actually says, anyway, nothing happened to me. Zhe Huaishan. Mother's eyes were filled with tears, looking as if she were about to weep blood. Back then, you couldn't even afford to eat. It was my father and I who supported your studies so you could become an official. After you became a marquis, you favored your concubine over your wife, showing bias toward Shi Yunru's own mother. I endured all of that. I could swallow the humiliation and just live my life guarding my daughter. But this concubine, born daughter of yours, she raised her hand to point at the disheveled Shi Yunru, conspired with outsiders, using vicious means to try and destroy Yunshu. This is an attempt on her life, and you say nothing happened anyway. Her voice suddenly pitched up. By the time something actually happens, it'll be too late. The anger and grievances accumulated over more than a decade exploded at this moment. Today, not only must Yunshu's marriage be cancelled, but I also want a divorce from you. She spoke forcefully, pulling my hand with determined strength. Yunshu, let's go. We are going to file a complaint before the emperor and ask his majesty to uphold justice. Father, being publicly contradicted and accused by mother, flew into a rage out of humiliation and dropped all pretense. Shen Lan. He gripped mother's arm tightly, gritting his teeth. I am the head of this family and an official. As long as I don't agree to divorce you, don't you dare dream of it? He looked at us mother and daughter with contempt, every word like ice, brainless idiot. The marriage with the second prince has already been proclaimed to the world. A ruler does not jest. Do you think the emperor will side with you? Do you think the emperor is someone you can see just because you want to? Even if you kneel at the palace gates until you die, you won't see the emperor. As soon as the words fell, who says she can't see him? Isn't Imperial Father right here? A calm, slightly languid voice suddenly rang out. The Crown Prince's voice was like a sharp blade slicing through the solidified atmosphere. Unhurriedly, steady and strong, he walked up to Father. Lord Shi, what a mighty air you have. Threatening your wife and daughter in front of so many people, Truly the mark of a real man. Father's expression changed suddenly. Your Highness the Crown Prince. Why are you here? He turned back to look at Shi Yunru in shock. How did this end up bringing His Highness the Crown Prince here? I thought for a moment and understood the situation. It turned out that after Shi Yunru was caught in bed, she secretly found someone to send a message to Father asking for help. She only said that her attempt to harm me failed, and instead I caught hold of leverage against her and Xiao Jingshuo, asking Father to come over and save her. She didn't dare mention anything about His Highness the Crown Prince. The servant who delivered the message didn't dare to mention the Crown Prince's name casually either. So Father, from beginning to end, didn't know this matter involved the Crown Prince. I understand that Lord Shi loves his daughter dearly and wants to protect this concubine, born daughter of yours. But today's matter is not just your family affair. It also involves a suspicion of plotting to murder me. A look of pain surfaced on the Crown Prince's face as he turned and bowed to the newcomer. Please interrogate them carefully, Imperial Father. Everyone froze in place, watching as the Son of Heaven in bright yellow walked closer and closer. Greetings, Your Majesty. Long live the Emperor. Long live, long live. The Emperor had a grim look on his face. He raised a hand and pressed down casually, stirring up such filth in the palace. What is there to interrogate about this kind of woman? Drag her away and beat her to death. No. Xiao Jingshuo and Father spoke in unison, kneeling on the ground, trembling. Your Majesty, this concubine, born daughter of mine, has a delicate body. She cannot withstand severe torture. Father Emperor, it is all my fault. It really was me who wanted to harm Shi Yunshu. Xiao Jingshuo's face was deathly pale, cold sweat streaming down. Yunru and I are in love, but Shi Yunshu stood in our way. I originally planned to make Shi Yunshu sleep with a servant and use the chance to swap my fiancé for Shi Yunru. Yunru was hit by the aphrodisiac incense by mistake. She is a victim too. Full of nonsense, riddled with holes. Then why did the second emperor and consort and keep shouting my name, saying I am the adulterer? The Crown Prince sneered. How do you explain this? I was blinded by greed and wasn't thinking straight. I thought if Shi Yunshu's adulterer was royal brother, it would be more convincing. Royal brother, royal father, it is all my fault. Xiao Jingshuo actually went to such lengths to protect Shi Yunru. I felt desolate inside and shook my head in self-mockery. Such deep affection. Not long ago he wouldn't admit to any of this, even if beaten to death. Yet now he has actually taken all the blame on himself. So, you admit that you framed Shi Yunshu in order to be with Shi Yunru. Xiao Jingshuo clenched his fists tightly, his voice low. Yes. The Emperor's face was grim, his gaze unfathomable. Then if I cancel your engagement to Shi Yunshu and have you marry this Shi Yunru instead, is that what you want? Yes. You really are deeply devoted to this Shi Yunru. Even after something like this happened, you actually still want her. No! Consortin cried as she knelt on the ground. Your Majesty, she was caught in bed with someone. How can she be my daughter? In-law. If you are going to marry Shi Yunshu. Shi Yunshu is 100 times better than that harlot. I can't bear the shame. Your Majesty, please have mercy on Xiao'er. But no matter how consort and begged and tried to stop it, the Emperor cancelled the engagement between the second prince and me and bestowed Shi Yunru upon the second prince as his consort. Consorten. This is what Little Two asked for himself. You heard it too. He admitted to slandering his older brother for the sake of this woman. It is clearly true love. With such earth-shattering devotion, why would you want to break up the lovebirds? The Emperor had a complicated expression on his face. He personally wrote a marriage contract and threw it onto the ground. Get married as soon as possible. As for Lord Shi, the Emperor looked at Father, his tone flat. Shen Lan is the daughter of Grand Secretary Shen. Before his passing, Grand Secretary Shen was the Grand Tutor to the late Emperor and myself. Since Shen Lan wants a divorce, then I shall authorize the divorce for you. Father's face turned deathly pale as he took a deep breath. Your Majesty, my wife and I only had a minor dispute. It hasn't reached the point of divorce. I can handle these domestic trifles. To go back and continue doting on your concubine and destroying your wife? The Emperor lowered his gaze, cutting him off. Little junior sister has a request. If I don't agree, how will I have the face to see the Grand Tutor after I die? A scandal of catching adultery and the Shia family mother and daughter. One had her engagement cancelled, the other divorced in middle age. This matter caused a huge uproar in the capital. The news that Xiao Jingshuo plotted to harm his fiancé for the sake of Xianru spread like wildfire. Whose family doesn't have women? Destroying a woman's purity is tantamount to taking a life. Even 3-year-old children made up nursery rhymes to spit on him. Consortin fell ill out of anger and shut herself away. My mother and I hauled the massive dowry and moved out of the Shia residence. Pa, we finally left this jinxed place. On the day we left the manor, Mother spat hatefully. All these years, she forced herself to stay with Father for my sake, and now she has finally found release. The new residence we moved into was prepared for us by the Crown Prince. Just accept it with an easy mind, consider it a thank you gift from me. The Crown Prince toasted me with a cup of wine. You saved my life. That was not a lie. In the previous life, the Crown Prince's downfall began with this very incident. After my rebirth, I thought it over and over and realized I couldn't completely break the deadlock on my own. So the first thing I did was contact Crown Prince Xiao Jingyan. I was worried he wouldn't believe me. But to my surprise, he didn't doubt my words at all. That was how we devised a plan to break the deadlock. Also exposed Shi Yunru and Xiao Jingshuo's affair. Don't the Crown Prince and the Emperor suspect the things Xiao Jingshuo said? Even I found his confession absurd when listening to it. It was full of holes and couldn't stand up to scrutiny at all. How could the Emperor and the Crown Prince let him off so easily? After all, he is Father Emperor's own flesh and blood, and Father didn't want things to spiral out of control. I need to be a sensible Crown Prince. I can't keep calling for my younger brother's head. The Crown Prince sneered. But he is finished anyway. By making him marry a woman with a ruined reputation as his consort, Father Emperor has completely cut off his chances. My heart tightened, and I instantly understood. In what dynasty has a woman involved in an illicit affair ever been made empress? The Emperor spared Xiao Jingshuo's life, but he also severed his hope of fighting for the throne. No wonder Consortin has fallen completely ill. As for you, you are quick-witted and decisive. Your intelligence and tenacity are no less than any man's. Seeing the undisguised admiration in his eyes, I subconsciously lowered my head. I've ordered 2 sets of jewelry at the treasure pavilion. Remember to go pick them up. After a long silence, the Crown Prince suddenly spoke. It is a gift to thank you. I looked at him in surprise. But your Highness has already given me a house? Do you think my reputation is worth only a single house? The Crown Prince's voice held a hint of a smile. Miss Shi, there is no need to be polite. We've fought side by side after all. From now on, you can just call me Xiao Jingyan. I blushed and agreed softly. Then your Highness can just call me Yunshu. On the way to the treasure pavilion, Mother carefully scrutinized my expression. Did you really not know His Highness the Crown Prince before? I hesitated and shook my head. I don't think so. But why did he believe my words so easily, and back me up later, and even give me jewelry? Entering treasure pavilion with a heart full of doubt, the clerk eagerly welcomed us and led us upstairs. The jewelry Xiao Jingyan prepared was priceless. Mother and I carefully held the boxes as we went downstairs. But on the first floor, we bumped into Xianru. If the upper beam is crooked, the lower beam is too. Both mother and daughter are cast-offs, yet you still have the nerve to go out. She walked up to us and adjusted the golden hairpin on her head. I am not like you anymore. I am going to be the second prince's officially wedded consort. Xianshu, do you hate it? Don't think I don't know. That day when I had the accident in the palace, It was your doing. Jianru's eyes were venomous as she glared fiercely at me. It is a pity I disappointed you. The second prince loves me as his own life. Even if you caused me to have an accident, he doesn't disdain me and is willing to marry me. So what if you are pure? He wants me, not you. I am not pure, yet he loves me just the same. Are you mad? I looked calmly at Jianru and smiled slightly. The trash I didn't want. You were willing to pick up. I thank you. Yes, I conspired with His Highness the Crown Prince to set up Jianru, but she brought it on herself. I don't regret it. Repay resentment with virtue? Then how should I repay virtue? I've been reborn just to exact my revenge. As for the second prince, my heart turned cold, and I completely gave up on him long ago after I died in my previous life. Don't blame me for not reminding you. The Xia family's wealth all these years has relied entirely on my dowry. My mother glanced scornfully at Jianru. I took my entire dowry with me when I left. I am afraid the Xia family can't afford this jewelry you are trying on. Jianru's face went pale. Then she looked at us smugly. No need for you to worry. The second prince values me and is willing to give me a grand wedding, so naturally he'll pay for me. As soon as the words fell, a roar came from the doorway. Marry you in grand style. A sturdy old servant woman rushed in and slapped her hard across the face. In your dreams. The Momo by consort inside walked in with a grim face. You unchaste slut. You've bewitched the second prince out of his mind and you still want to be a princess consort in grand style? If it weren't for the emperor's decree, do you think you could enter the royal family? Bad luck. She pointed sinisterly at Jianru. Strip all the jewelry off her body. At the command, the old servants rolled up their sleeves and stepped forward, tearing at her hair and viciously yanking the earrings off her ears. Ah! Jianru screamed shrilly, her ears torn apart, blood gushing out. Miss Xi Consortin said the second prince is still young and didn't know any better before. Her Highness will definitely discipline the second Highness properly in the future. Please don't give up on the second Highness. The second prince was just confused for a moment. The one he loves is still you. Please give him another chance. The nanny smiled fawningly, stuffing jewelry into my arms. Her Highness said, "Whatever you like, just say the word, and Her Highness will foot the bill." Seeing that my arms were nearly stuffed full of jewelry, just as I was about to refuse, but she was suddenly pulled behind someone. No need for Consortin to trouble herself. We don't need it. Since the engagement with the second prince is cancelled, we aren't worthy of Consortin's jewelry. A tall, middle-aged man walked in. Whatever my niece likes. As her uncle, I will naturally buy it. No need for outsiders to worry. Our Shen family has nothing right now, but we do have money. The voluptuous aunt brushed the gold hairpin by her ear. We have declined, and no one in the family is an official anymore. But our business is doing very well. We're so poor that all we have left is money. Even if we have no money, we won't eat that humiliating handout. Auntie was fierce and uninhibited, shaming that nanny until her face turned bright red. Brother, sister, in-law? Mother rushed over in surprise and pulled her. How come you are here? Auntie, something this big happened to you and cousin. Of course me and my parents had to come. My cousin, shielding me from the front, smiled calmly. It has been years. Cousin, do you still remember me? My eyes grew hot, and I nodded heavily. Of course I remember. When I was little, cousin, uncle, and aunt often came to the capital to see me, and I liked cousin very much. Every time they came, they brought me lots of strange and novel little things, and many clothes and jewelry I had never seen before. Cousin was especially good to me, and I shared all my innermost thoughts with her. But later on, I don't know why, uncle and aunt never came to the capital again. I also gradually had less contact with my cousin. It is a good thing you are smart and knew to write a letter to tell the family. You didn't secretly hide the news and live a hard life on your own. Aunt helped us vent our anger at the treasure pavilion on the way home. I couldn't help nagging Mom. You should have broken it off with that Shia guy ages ago. He is no good. Mother looked at Uncle with tears in her eyes, chiding and complaining. Brother, since you knew he was no good, why haven't you come to see me for so many years? Uncle choked on his words, his expression turning ugly. I used to come see you every year, but later, that guy named Shia became a bigger and bigger official and started looking down on me. After Father passed away, I was a disappointment. I could only do business and couldn't become an official. The Shah family said we were poor relatives trying to cling to the rich and powerful. Most importantly, they said if we came often, the noble ladies in the capital would look down on you. Older cousin's gaze was icy cold as she gripped my hand tightly. Your dad said you should associate with noble ladies. He said I am a merchant's daughter, and that associating closely with you would affect your reputation. Uncle's family was humiliated, and they were also afraid of affecting mine and Mom's reputation in the capital. So they gradually stopped coming to the capital. When did this happen? Mother trembled with anger. The nerve of Xia Huaishan, eating our Meng family's food to get where he is today. Yet he dares to look down on my brother and sister-in-law, and to say such things to my niece. Aunt waved her hand dismissively. We don't really care. As long as you live well, we'll just treat it like he farted. But we won't stand for him bullying you. She took the ledger out from her bosom and shook it triumphantly. That guy named Shia has spent quite a lot of your dowry over these years. Since he is heartless, don't blame us for being unjust. Your brother and I are planning to sue him at the magistrate's office and make him pay the money back. Mother smiled through her tears and nodded repeatedly. I'll listen to you, sister-in-law. Uncle and aunt moved into the residence the Crown Prince gave us, leaving early and returning late, busy as bees. My cousin and I were affectionate with each other, returning to the happy times of the past. Ziyunru didn't get a grand wedding in the end. Consort and threatened suicide, so she could only carry a bundle herself and enter the household quietly. Uncle's lawsuit against Father was progressing smoothly, but before long, Father and Shi Yunru came storming to our door. Shenlan, we've been husband and wife for over 10 years. How could you be so vicious to actually have your brother falsely accuse me? You spent the dowry you brought yourself. Why ask me for money, making me the laughingstock of my colleagues? What do you want? I stood in front of Mother, looking at Father coldly. Stay away from my mom. Father's face was ferocious as he glared at me furiously. Is that how you talk to your old man? A lowly woman gives birth to a lowly daughter, and her lineage is destined to bring misfortune to her husbands. Ziyunru's face was concentrated with hatred. Shen Jiwei. It is all because you and your mother wouldn't let it go that the authorities confiscated the family's property, leaving me without even a dowry. Slap. I lunged forward and gave him a vicious slap. Your mother is just a lowly concubine. You never had a dowry to begin with. What? Didn't your mother tell you? You grew up relying on my mother's dowry, yet you turned around to harm me. I've been wanting to settle the score with you for a long time. I rubbed my wrist, giving my cousin a look. She immediately understood, and gave Shi Yunru a hard kick. Pa! I straddled Shen Jiwei and slapped him 3 times in a row. Stop hitting. The second prince rushed in from outside, looking at me with disappointment. Yunshu, you are actually so vulgar and rude. He pushed me aside, with sympathy in his eyes. You are about to be in big trouble, yet you are still being so aggressive. Impending doom. Me, my mother, and I exchanged a glance, puzzled. Stop pretending. Who in the entire capital doesn't know that the house you lived in after your divorce belongs to the Crown Prince? The case where your uncle sued Father also had the Crown Prince's backing. Ziyunru looked at her with disdain. Back then you said we framed you and the Crown Prince for having an affair, but now it seems you two were having an affair all along. You are talking nonsense. I was shaking all over with anger, glaring fiercely at her. You can insult me, but you cannot insult the Crown Prince. Xiao Jingyan has helped me so much, and there is nothing going on between us. How can I allow her to insult Xiao Jingyan? Yo protecting him already? Zi Yunru laughed mockingly. How touching, it is a pity. You two can only be a pair of illicit lovebirds in the underworld. What do you mean? I froze on the spot. Hamph, consort and is back in favor. The decree to depose the crown prince will be handed down very soon, and you are about to be in big trouble too. The second prince is the emperor's own son, and consort and is his favorite concubine. Do you really think the emperor would have the heart to punish them? Zi Yunru gloated. The emperor dotes on consort, and so the throne will belong to the second prince sooner or later. The second prince has a boundless future. Xiao Jingshuo sighed, gazing deeply at me. Yunshu, the crown prince won't be riding high for much longer. If you are willing to kneel and apologize to Yunru, I'll force myself to take you as a concubine and look after you from now on. I snapped my head up, in disbelief. Take me as a concubine? You've really got some nerve. My cousin couldn't help but yell furiously. Even if my cousin never marries, she'll never be a concubine for you. Even if she doesn't become a concubine, she still has to kneel and kowtow to me. Zi Yunru laughed so hard she trembled. When the second prince becomes the crown prince, I'll be the crown princess. Xie Yunshu, you'll have to kneel to me every single day. Father stroked his beard and let out a cold laugh. I think you should kneel to Yunru right now. Consider it advanced practice. That way you won't be unaccustomed to it when the time comes. I was so angry the blood rushed to my head and my ears were buzzing. You should get used to it in advance. A magnetic, authoritative voice came from outside the door. Once you enter the prison, you can only kneel. You'll never stand up again. Crown Prince Xiao Jingyan strode in, followed by 2 squads of soldiers in black, hands on their swords. You are right. How could Father Emperor bear to lay a hand on his own son? Xiao Jingyan was calm and composed, speaking slowly and deliberately. I am also Father Emperor's son, and the legitimate son at that. Who do you guess Father Emperor values more? Xiao Jingshuo? Father Emperor indeed dotes on you. He betrothed Shi Yunshu to you as your wife because only by marrying her could you live a life without worry. The late emperor once issued a decree to ensure the daughter of Shenlan a lifetime of wealth and safety. His words were like a clap of thunder exploding in everyone's ears. The late emperor? Xiao Jingshuo shook all over, in disbelief. My marriage wasn't because of the Marquis of Chenggen, but because of Shi Yunshu's mother. I was stunned, suddenly understanding the crux of the matter. My maternal grandfather used to be the grand tutor to both the late emperor and the current emperor. The emperor called my mother his little junior sister. Grandfather was a veteran official serving 3 reigns, but it was a pity uncle wasn't cut out to be an official. He had the backbone of a scholar. He refused the emperor's help and decisively let his son become a merchant. The late emperor was moved on his deathbed and left a secret decree to protect my mother's and my wealth and status. The emperor pondered it over and over, and granted the marriage between me and the second prince. If I become a royal daughter, in-law, the emperor can protect me, and with me around, after the crown prince ascends the throne, the second prince can also be allowed to remain a wealthy prince. Such painstaking efforts. In the previous life when the crown prince fell, I am afraid the emperor's resentment towards him for ruining me was also a factor. If you had properly married Yunshu and treated her well, you and consort and could have been guaranteed a lifetime of wealth and honor. It is a pity you threw away a pearl to pick up a fisheye. And Marquis Sheng'en, where do you think your title came from? Without Yunshu's mother, could you have been made a marquis? As soon as the words fell, Xiao Jingyan chuckled lightly. Men, didn't you hear someone offend the crown princess? Seize them at once, crown princess. I looked up in astonishment, meeting Xiao Jingyan's smiling eyes. Me? I wasn't the only one shocked. Xianru screamed. You want to marry Shi Yunshu as the crown princess? Are you crazy? Is Shi Yunshu even worthy? Xiao Jingyan's face darkened, bearing the indifference of one who holds the power of life and death. If she isn't worthy, are you? She is the most quick-witted, decisive, intelligent, and resilient woman I have ever met. Only a woman like this is the wife I desire. How is she not worthy? He gazed at me deeply and reached out his hand. Xianshu, do you dare to marry me? Do you dare to be the crown princess? I looked up in a daze, looking at his clean, slender hand. Xi Yunru's jealous face. Father's indifferent look. Xiao Jingshuo's shameless behavior. Scene after scene floated before my eyes, finally stopping on the unresigned eyes from before my death in the previous life. I suddenly snapped back to reality and handed my hand over. I dare. What is there not to dare? Reliving a life, lucky enough to get the chance to be the crown princess, or even the empress. Am I supposed to foolishly refuse? You wretch, don't be so smug. You wretch, even if the crown prince agrees, the court officials will not. Xi Yunru was still cursing as she was dragged out. You can't be the crown princess. Father and Xi Yunru were both thrown into prison, consort and was neglected again shortly after regaining favor, and this time she was thoroughly banished to the cold palace. This regaining and losing of favor thoroughly smoked out the courtiers following the second prince. The second prince has fallen, and those who followed the second prince to oppose the crown prince met no good end. The decree appointing me as the crown princess came down very quickly. But why? I plucked up the courage and asked the question buried in my heart. You want to take a wife. Countless noble ladies are yours to pick. Why choose me? Xianshu. He called my name. Every word clear, before meeting you. I didn't know what it meant to be moved. He faced me directly, his gaze deep. I've never been much for women anyway. Actually, before the marriage was bestowed upon you and my second brother, Father Emperor once asked me if I wanted to marry you. I hadn't seen you then, so I didn't say yes or no. It just so happened that consorting came to plead, so Father Emperor gave the chance to the second prince. He walked towards me, giving me no chance to retreat. But after getting to know you, I regretted it. You are intelligent, able to find a way out of a dead end. You are resilient, able to stand tall under pressure. We were so in sync when we joined forces. All of this made my heart flutter. His words were just like him, direct and forceful, not beating around the bush. We fought side by side, exchanged countless messages. Did you really not feel anything for me at all? My heart trembled, and my ears burned. Actually, after I managed to contact him for the first time following my rebirth, I felt his handwriting was very good. Looking, just as good, looking as he is. But will the ministers really agree? I thought of Xi Yunru's words, feeling hesitant. After all, I was promised to the second prince, and now to you. Xiao Jingyan held my hand, his gaze disdainful. Father Emperor agrees, and I am willing. Can they interfere with me taking a wife? He kissed my hand, making a solemn promise. I'll either never take a wife, or if I do, it'll only be you. 3 days later, bells and drums sounded in unison, resounding through the skies. Xiao Jingyan was dressed in majestic ceremonial robes, holding my hand as we walked step by step up the white jade stairs. The attendant unfurled the bright yellow scroll, his voice echoing over the empty square. Behold, Lady Xi, of noble birth and virtuous heart, you are hereby invested as crown princess, to serve the ancestral temple and offer the sacrificial grain. May you be diligent. Every word fell heavily in the wind. Xiao Jingyan reached out his hand and solemnly grasped mine. Are you afraid? He asked me in a low voice, a sound only the two of us could hear. With your highness here, I am not afraid. I smiled and leaned into his arms, tightly holding his hand in return. From now on the long road ahead, we will weather the storms together, sharing the burden. Beneath the overlapping sleeves, 2 hands were clasped tightly together.